We got some big news coming out of Disney and Lucasfilm because apparently Kathleen Kennedy is going to be stepping down as her role of president of Lucasfilm by the end of the year. Now, normally I don't put a whole lot of faith in these type of rumors because we hear them all the time. It's been going on for years now where Kathleen Kennedy is finally out at the company. The executives have finally had enough with her and she's fired and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we've heard this for years. But this one seems to be getting a lot more traction, which suggests that maybe there is some validity to it. I don't know, but if it is true, I think it is a step in the right direction for Lucasfilm, even if I don't necessarily think it'll be enough to actually save them. This is being reported on right here from the Hollywood Reporter. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy expected to retire this year. The prolific producer has presided over Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchise through ups and downs since 2012. Now, I've said in the past, you can even go back and watch my old videos talking about Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy, that if it actually does come to she gets fired from there, they will never actually say that she was fired because that'd be Disney admitting fault and admitting what they've been producing has been bad and Kathleen Kennedy is responsible for that. That'll never happen. If she was to be fired from Lucasfilm, this will be the way that they would actually announce it, where it's like, oh, she just chose to retire and we wish her the best on what she continues to do. And then Kathleen Kennedy says, yeah, I chose to retire. This was totally my own choice. I didn't get pushed out or anything like that, because this just allows everyone to save face. Disney doesn't have to admit any fault. Kennedy doesn't have to be fired in disgrace. So that's pretty much what everyone would agree to if that actually happened. And it's if she is leaving right now and they're saying it's a retirement, I'm thinking more likely than not, that's probably what it is, because with the Rey Star Wars movie still in production hell, because no writer can seem to agree with Kathleen Kennedy on what she wants to do with it. I was thinking that she wanted to stay with the company in order to see that through, because Rey is basically Kathleen Kennedy's contribution to Star Wars. So she wanted to make sure she was involved with that upcoming movie. So I don't think that she would choose to retire when that's still in the works, at least in the current stage of the production that it's at. So I'm thinking that this probably wasn't her doing it on her own free will, but we've seen in the last couple of years, Disney has been trying to almost shy away from identity politics because they understand it's toxic to their brand. Kathleen Kennedy was a true believer in that cause, and she would have ridden anything into the ground so long as she can push her message. And maybe Disney just finally had enough to like, okay, we don't care if you know where all the bodies are buried. We're going to get rid of you because it's worse. You staying around is actually worse than you revealing all of our dirty secrets. At least that's just what I think. That's pure speculation. I don't think she actually knows where bodies are buried, or maybe she does. Like I said, I don't know. I don't have any insider information. After more than a decade in a galaxy far, far away, Kathleen Kennedy is charting a new course towards retirement. The Lucasfilm boss has told associates she plans to retire by the end of 2025. Puck reported Monday night. Reps for Kennedy and Lucasfilm were not immediately available for comment. And I'm thinking they'll probably make some announcement today, or they'll make some comment today. So, because you can't let something like this just kind of fester within the news cycle, especially when major outlets like the Hollywood Reporter are picking it up. So Disney is pretty much going to be forced to give some response to this, either confirmation or denial. Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas, and a few months later took the reins after Disney paid $4 billion for the company and Lucasfilm and Lucas exited. Then talking about the relaunch of Star Wars, Force Awakens made $2 billion globally, followed by other releases that they had. But then The Rise of Skywalker was the last movie that they released theatrically, and that made half as much as The Force Awakens, which still $1 billion isn't nothing to scoff at. But when you think about their big franchise, the relaunch of Star Wars, and it has diminishing returns for each subsequent movie, that just goes to show that they're moving in the wrong direction. As Lucasfilm boss, Kennedy held one of the most visible and scrutinized jobs in Hollywood, and it was not always smooth sailing. She fired Chris Lord and Phil Miller, who directed Solo. She also sidelined Rogue One, a Star Wars story director, Gareth Edwards, replacing him with Tony Gilroy, who was brought on to oversee reshoots. Other projects were promised that never materialized. Yeah, in fact, they actually have a bad habit of announcing more projects than actually following through on. Rian Johnson, D&D's project from Game of Thrones, Daisy Ridley's upcoming Star Wars has been languishing in development since being announced to fanfare almost 2 years ago. And I don't really see them following through with that without Kathleen Kennedy, unless for some reason whoever they choose to replace her with is actually wanting to follow through with that. And that's another thing about all this is who's going to replace her. And I think a lot of people would figure Dave Filoni would probably take over because he's already the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm. Maybe they put him in that position ahead of time just to kind of get him ready for taking over for her. And I can see that being a possibility. But for a lot of people who think Kathleen Kennedy gone, Dave Filoni taking over will be what saves Star Wars, I really want to hold my breath for that, because one of the problems with Disney Star Wars is not only is it oversaturation, which I think that is an issue, but putting that aside, it has been their insistence on pushing identity politics and the current day message in a lot of their productions. Kennedy has not been shy about that's what she's been trying to do with Disney Star Wars. And her leaving could be Disney saying we want to step away from these sort of things, but putting Dave Filoni in charge, I don't think would be much better, because he's still a true believer in that cause as well. And if you look at the Acolyte, he gave a lot of notes on what they could do with that, and he signed off and approved everything that they did. Now, even though Kathleen Kennedy said that basically that's the Star Wars that she wanted and that really resonated with her, I mean, that was peak Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars, Dave Filoni still had his fingerprints all over that too. So if you put him in charge, or if Disney puts him in charge, I don't think it will fix anything unless they put him in charge under the guise of, you can't be pushing identity politics. We're trying to get away from that as a company because that's been toxic to our bottom line and people don't like that. It's been alienating the fan base and it's been diminishing the quality of the production. So just don't do it anymore. And if Dave Filoni agrees to that, then perhaps there'll be some better Star Wars stuff in the future. But I still think there is that oversaturation issue, which the Mandalorian and Grogu, that's already in the works. They can't pull the plug on that yet. But I think after that, they should pretty much shelve everything else for at least the next 5 years. Pretty much create a scarcity, make people miss Star Wars again. And then when they finally do release something, it's to a lot of fanfare and it's something big that people actually want to see. I think it would be too much to ask that they would be decanonizing all the Disney Star Wars movies up to this point. I don't expect them to ever do that because that would just be Disney admitting fault, something that they're incapable of doing. But I do think there is a possibility to save Star Wars without the leadership that's currently there working on Star Wars. It's just a matter of the people that are going to or the person who replaces Kathleen Kennedy is actually the right one for the job. I don't think Dave Filoni would be that, but maybe he's not even into consideration with the executives. Maybe they understand he would be just as bad as Kathleen Kennedy, so they have to have someone else. I guess we'll have to wait and see not only confirmation whether or not this is a true story, but just more information about what's going to happen moving forward. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.